Hello and welcome to Lucy's Big Beautiful World of Painting. My name is Lucy Aida. I'm a Wilson Bickford certified instructor, and I teach many of his methods and also my own methods. Today I have a special class that I have been allowed to teach on the air today from Tom Presnell in South Carolina, who's one of my fellow Wilson Bickford trained instructors. We took our certification class together, and I'm so happy to be able to do his painting today, and I think you're going to love it. I'm using acrylic paint, and I'm also using oil paint, so it is something different. First, I'd like to show you some of the products I'm using. Deco Art Americana makes this transfer paper, and I've tried a lot of transfer papers, and I'm showing this one because I do like this the best. This is a really large sheet that it comes in, and what you do is you can cut it for the size piece that you want. And I'm using this printout. Tom said that he just drew up this bird, and it's very simple. And what we do is we would place our bird on our canvas, put our graphite paper, and then we just trace it right on. Okay, very simple. Anybody can do that. If you can draw the bird, go ahead and draw. I know that I can't draw well, so I'd rather just trace it on when I can. And then I covered it with some masking tape. Okay, just put a masking tape and rubbed it on. Then I took an X-Acto knife and very carefully went around, okay? So what that enables us to do is paint the whole background, and then we can come and peel off the bird and paint the bird. The background's going to be an acrylic, and we're going to start layering some oils on top of the acrylic. So the products I'm using for the background and tree branches are another nice product. You can use gesso. There's a black gesso Wilson Bickford has in his signature line, which is very good, and also white gesso. Today I just happen to have the Deco Art Traditions, which I also like very much, a nice creamy paint, and I'm going to be using Carbon Black, Opaque White, and something that's called an extender and blending medium, which will allow the paint to move better on the canvas. So I'm going to get started now, and I happen to be using my bounce brush, which can be used for this application also. Mostly I use this brush to bounce on trees and for clouds, but in this case, since I'll be putting the paint up and down and it has the 3 rows, it works very well. You can also use a fan brush, a flat brush, whichever brush really that you would like to use. So I have the extender, which is dripping a little on my palette, so I'm going to hold it a little straighter, and I'm just going to get some black to start with, and I'm going to move a little over, and I'm going to get some white, and I'm going to move some of that extender in there. Now, what I plan to do is go back and forth between the white and the black to get a nice grayed background, okay? Now, this will give an illusion of trees. Now, you can see this is a new brush, so some of those bristles are coming out, and that's okay. So I'm just dipping back and forth. I will pick some of those out. We want this nice grainy look in the back, putting white and black back and forth. And I'm just going to try to flick that one off there. It's giving me a little trouble. And wipe it, a little paper towel. And I'll just smooth that back out again. I do want to have these lines. When I saw Tom's original painting, he has a lot of nice lining in the back. So I am going to get some of those lines. I'm going to smooth some paint on first, and I can go back and put more. Okay. So I'm going back and forth between the dark black and the white. We want all different shades, different values of gray for this background. His was not as dark as this. I'm just going to make it a little darker than his. This way it shows better on the camera for you. I'll try to turn my hand again too in case you can't see from that side. Okay, I'm just dipping my brush back and forth. See, I'm just going up and down, going back into the extender so that paint kind of moves a little better. At home, you'll be able to take your time and really pay attention to your coloring so you have lights and darks. Now, I think that's a little bit too gray, so I'll just go back and lay in some more white here. I'm just dipping it in. There we go. We want to get a nice wintry kind of color. I will be putting some branches over this, okay? There. And I'm going to a few inches from the bottom. Look, I'm painting right over that Cardinal. Right now he's all gray. Later he'll be nice shades of red and some black. Very easy to paint him. Just putting on a little more white. So, I'm going to add a little bit more white. I can see Tom's picture. I have it sitting right below me, and I know that he added more white, and I'm going to add a little bit more white. Now, just by these lines, you can kind of get an illusion that they're background trees. Now, rather than wash out my bounce brush, I'm just going to take a clean one to save some time. And I'm going to get a little fresh white. Oh, here it is. Forgot where I put that. And these little bottles are good. You can snap them open with one finger. I'm going to put it over here, some nice fresh white. Okay. You can hear they snap really well. I'm not wetting the brush or anything at this time. I'm just putting quite a bit of paint on there. That's a lot of paint. And what I want to do is just come back and forth on the bottom. This is going to be like a little flat area underneath the bird. As I go up to that gray, I am going to pick some of that gray up. And that's okay, because he'll just look like a little bit of a shadow. So here I go, right into that gray. So it's going to look like some background trees in the back, and then some snow up in the front. And see what that gray that went into that snow makes it look like a shadow. It just happens. And again, putting some more white, going into that gray. There we go. So we have some nice snow underneath that bird. And some nice white snow in there. Okay? So, when you put a color in front of a color, even though it's white, it'll give it depth. So it looks like now this is more in the background. All right? So next, I'm going to take a filbert brush. I'm using the Wilson Bickford line again today. And I'm going to take some of the black paint. And I have my extender moving all over the palette, but that's okay. I'm just going to go in some extender here. Going into the black paint, and you can see I'm just loading the brush generously. Now, this is acrylic paint. And what I'd like to do now is right over the bird and over the background, I'm going to put on some large branches, okay? But you know what? I just forgot something. I'm going to put some small branches in there first. So, coming into this black, coming back over to my white, taking some of that extender. You can see I'm just mixing everything on my palette. I forgot. I want to put a little bit of background branches in. So, here we go. This will give it a little more perspective. Oops. I kind of got a little messy there. I got some of my paint drying, so I'm going to have to use a little more extender. Here we go. Just going to put some in. Just some random background trees there. We're going to be covering up a lot of that with some big branches. All right, so there we have just some illusion. This is just an illusion of some trees in the back. All right. Now that should really give it a little more dimension and depth. Now you can see I'm just pulling on the tip of the long liner. This is a long script liner. There's a short script liner and a long script liner. This is the long one. You need to use it with water or fluid. Okay. So I think that might be enough. I feel like I'm doing a little bit extra just so I can show you more. All right, there we go. Now, back to my filbert brush. I'm going into the nice rich black paint, and oh, it looks like I got some on the side already. So you know what? That's where I'll start my branch. How about that? It started it for me. So I'm going to really lay on this thick paint, and I'm going to go over it, and I can make it a little blacker. Right now, I just want to get this on there for you so you can see which way the painting is going. Now, you're going to see, now that I'm putting this dark black in front of that gray, it's going to push it all back. Okay, so I'm just putting in my own branches. I do have his picture here. I'm not copying his exactly. Just want to get the idea, and I want to teach you his wonderful lesson today with his ideas. And it's great that we get to learn from each other. One thing about art, many of the artists don't mind sharing their work with people, and it's wonderful that we get to use other artists' ideas for ourselves. Okay, so this bird is going to be sitting on a branch, so I have to make a branch come right across the bottom of him. So I'm going to just start it right here, and I can see, you may not be able to see, but I'm going over, and the tape is you know, underneath there, of course, so I'm just going to make sure that he's got a branch to sit on. There we go. I'm going to bring this one right off the page. And I'll still go back and neaten these up. I just want to get them on there so you can see which way I'm going. Coming right across the snow, which will really help set everything back, okay? Now I'm changing from the tip of the filbert brush to the side of the filbert brush. And just going back and forth, all right? Going back into the paint, need a lot of paint for this. Can pull up some branches. I may want to add a little dark back in there. Now, I will be putting some shadows on here and some snow on top, so it doesn't necessarily have to be that dark, but I just want to make sure that you're able to see the perspective in this painting. Now, at home, of course, like I say every show, I want you to take your time. Don't go as fast as I am. I just am painting this fast so you get a whole lesson in less than a half an hour. That's my goal, so you can get a lesson. There we go. So these would be called the primary branches. These are the biggest branches. And then, of course, we could put on secondary branches, which I'll do next. And I might have enough of these big branches in. And I'll take my time a little more and go with some secondary ones. But I think I'll pull this over. And then I'm just going to step back a little bit and take a look at my painting and see if there's anything else that I want to add in the form of the big branches. Can still go back in a bit and do it, but I'm going to step back a couple feet, which is what you should do when you take a look at your painting. And this one kind of is like an arch, so I'd like to break up a little bit of that arch. So I'm just going to have a little something come out this way. And that's just what happened to stick out when I first looked at it. So I'll just make like this kind of broken branch there, okay? And let's see. All right, so I think that's getting there now. And what I can do now is go on to some secondary branches. Now, when you're using acrylic paint, it's always good to put your brushes in water because it does get real hard fast in the brushes, all right? So you want to put them in water. I just have a little basin there and I'm just placing it in the water for now. I don't have to wash it out as long as it stays wet, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the long liner brush, and the same liner brush we use for oil, I'm going to be using with the acrylic. I'm going to dip a little bit in the water just to loosen it up a bit. All right, in the same way we use it with oil, we're using this with water. With oil, when we use oil paint, we'd be using it with thinner. So it's the same, just this is acrylic with water. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Acrylic with water or extender, and oil with thinner. All right, here we go. So I loaded up that brush quite a bit, and it's pretty thick with paint, so we'll see how thick they come out. Now this would be, say, secondary branches. So just coming off the main branch, I'm pulling it, and I want them to look a little jagged and crooked, so I'll just kind of turn the brush in my fingers. See how that comes out a little jagged? And maybe come up here, turn it a little jagged. So I'm just turning it. Now I can feel the paint is drying already, so I will come back, dip again in the water basin, and then I will come back again and start to add some of these branches. All right, now when you're at home, you can add as many branches as you like. So for now, I may not have the time to add as many as Tom did in his wonderful painting, and that's what really drew me to his painting, was a lot of the details that he put in. Unfortunately, I won't have the time to do all those details, but I'm very pleased to give you his lesson today. All right, there we go. I'm just going to add a couple more so I can get on with the rest of the painting. I'm just looking again at his, and he had so many branches back here, and I would love to add more, but I think I might have to stop here. I just want to get a couple in the front so they show over the snow. Okay, and I think that you get the idea of this. Oops, you can see it got a little dry, so it's stuck a little. So I'll go back into the water, and all I have to do is bring this back out. See, it's easy to fix a little boo-boo. You can just go right over it, all right? So those would be the secondary branches. Now, of course, you can go to a smaller liner brush, and same thing, dip in water. Ooh, my liner brush is kind of hard there. Let me see if I have another one. And I'm picking out a new liner brush now. So I'm going to just dip that liner brush in water. Here I go. You can see this is a number 2 liner brush, but it's not a long liner brush, okay? So this one is smaller and thinner. So what I could do is come off of some of these branches, and I can do the same thing. I'm just dragging the brush, and I can make tertiary branches, or yeah, tertiary. I'm trying to think if I had the right word there. And these could be smaller branches, okay? Now, like I said, that one I pushed a little. See what happens when you push, it gets wider. If I take my time, I can make really thin, dainty ones, see? And that's what I want you to do at home. I want you to try to get all the thicknesses of the branches, thick and thin, and big and small, okay? There we go. So, that is the acrylic portion of our painting. What I'd like to do now is to speed up the drying time, what you can do at home if you want to, or you can just leave it. And I have a little hair dryer here. And this background should be dry when you go on. Now, I don't know if you probably can hear me over it, but when you see wet spots, you can just dry it, and I can see how fast it's drying. My background is almost dry. And we might be able to go on with this in a minute. Okay. And that's all you would have to do to dry it. You can take a hair dryer, you can put it in front of a fan, whatever you have. Or, if you have a lot of patience, you can just wait a few minutes. All right, here we go. Now, I'm going to try and see if it's ready to go. So, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to place out some of my oil paint. And I have some blue. I'm going to make a shadow first, so let's see. I have some blue paint I'm going to use with a palette knife. So, excuse me for 1 second, I'm turning around. I left my paint back here, and I'm taking some blue paint, and I'm taking some white. Oops, and I got a bunch of red on there. So, I'm gonna have to just clean this up. Look at that. Red, white, and blue little mess I made. All right, here we go. What I'm going to do is put shadows now on the branches, all right? I want to mix the color, so I'm going to take this white, and I'm taking a little bit of this blue. There we go. And here is a nice blue shadow color, all right? Now, I'm just going to put down my knife. I'm going to take a filbert brush. And I'm running it right through. Now, underneath the bird, we can barely see that bird, and on the bottom of the branches, I'm just going to roll some of this paint in. I'm just moving the brush back and forth. We just want to get some of these shadows. I can see some of that is not totally dry. That's okay. At home, you'll have more time. And I'm basically laying this blue on because it's going to be the bottom of where I put the snow, okay? So just kind of following the way the branches are going, and I'm just laying it on. And now this is oil paint, okay? I'm using the Wilson Bickford titanium white mixed with ultramarine, okay? And getting some of this nice blue on to make a nice shadow look. There we go. I may not do every single branch, time permitting. I want to at least show you the rest of this lesson. So I go, put a little blue up here, a little more blue. Now, once I'm done putting on this nice shadow, and you can see I kind of just moved it around. You can even dab it here and there. Okay, we don't want it looking too straight because it's supposed to be a shadow underneath the snow. All right, get a little more in there. What I will do is take another filbert. Usually at home I would wash them out, but for the sake of time, I'm going to take some paint that I have in the back here. And here we go. I have some white oil paint. Now what I'll come back and do is the same thing, but I'm going to lay some of this paint on top, and I'm twisting, and twisting. So this way we get the illusion of the snow, okay? And you can lay on a lot of this snow as much as you want. See, I'm just kind of making it fall right off, kind of pushing it off the brush, turning it around. Like I said, at home, I want you to be neat and take your time. You should be going this slow and turning the brush, having it come right off your branches. All right? And I have to go on to the bird, so I just want to at least show you how to do this. So when you're home, lay the paint on. Take your time. I must have said take your time about 20 times already. So I hope that you can sit and do this at home. And, oops, almost went in my acrylic there. And put a lot of snow on. The snow looks wonderful, okay? There we go. I'm going to place that down. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to reveal that bird. And I'm coming up. Here's his tail underneath here. That's not a spot. And let me find a spot. He really stuck down there really good. Here we go. There's the bird. He's coming off now. So this X-Acto knife is a wonderful tool. You can use it in a lot of ways. Like I said, it's great to cut around. So always cover it back up. It's sharp. All right, here we go. Now, the way that Tom painted his bird was he used I'm not sure if he used a filbert brush or not, but you can either use a filbert or a round brush, okay? Now, with this, we're going to use two different reds, one being Cadmium Red Light, and one is Cadmium Red Dark, all right? Cadmium Red Deep, sorry. And I got a messy palette, but you know what? That's okay. I'm just putting the paint right on. This is great because we're not using that many colors. There we go. So, what I'm going to do is, underneath the bird, I'm just going to lay a little bit of clear medium, which is the Wilson Bickford clear glazing medium. And that might be a little bit much. I think I might have added a little too much, but that's okay. Okay. Here is the simple bird. You can see I have that drawing underneath, so you can see his little face there. I'm going to start with the lightest color, and I'm just loading up my brush with that Cadmium Red Light. And I'm going to start dabbing him. And I'm dabbing. Now I have a little bit, I think I do have a little bit too much medium. So the paint is moving a little more than I would like for it to move, okay? But I think you get the idea. I'm dabbing to give this guy a little bit of texture. Okay? So we have some light red. I'm just turning my brush. Now I'm going to go into this dark red. All right, that light red is almost like an orange. Now the next layer, I'm just dabbing in. I'm staying away from his eye and everything for now. See, I'm just dabbing it, dabbing it, dabbing it. Now, I would prefer if when you dab, you use little dabs, because that will help. All right. I'm putting some dark red here around his eye. At home, I'd like for you to wipe the brush off, all right? You'll get a better contrast between your colors. Due to time, I'm not going to wipe. I just want to show you the lesson. And you can see I'm just dabbing the paint on. Dabbing, dabbing, dabbing. Okay, it's already starting to look like a red bird. Now I'm going to dip in some black. I just have to get a little bit of black. And sorry for turning around there. Here is some black. Doesn't matter if it mixes there. And I'm going to start to put some black on his back. And I want to mix some of that with that red. It'll all blend in together. Now, in this case, like I said, I added a little bit too much medium, okay? But I think that you're understanding. It looks pretty simple. It is pretty simple. I think that hopefully when you're watching it, you'll say that it's pretty simple, enough for a beginner to try it. And I'm just kind of evening him out a little. Now, around his face is primarily black, so I'm just going to wipe this brush out a little bit. I'm just dabbing it on a little paper towel. Going to get a little black, and you'll see him come to life. There we go. Put a little black. You see, I'm just following my drawing underneath. Okay? Following the drawing. He's got a little eye there, so what I can do is I can just dip the end of the brush and poke his eye there. Not necessarily move the way I just did, but that's okay. He's got a little bigger of an eye. Now, I'm going to just take some of the black mixed with the red, and I'm just going to go back in again. Like I said, I did add a little bit too much medium, and I didn't have time to correct that, but I think that you get the idea. This bird should be really bright red, and you can get him to be bright red without adding that much medium. What I do need is a little tiny bit of yellow for his beak. I'm going to mix the color I already have in my brush to make his beak. All right, I'm not gonna wash it out. All right, so I'm just mixing a little bit of the yellow, little bit of the red, and I am getting like an orange color. So if you were to anchor yourself, that's how you can do these little parts without getting sloppy like I just did, okay? Now, since I had too much medium on the brush, what I could do is I can go back with more paint, and I can really put some more paint and mix that medium up. I can even fix that eye. All right, just a little fix. I just want you to see how I'm doing this. So the main thing, like I said today, is for you to get this lesson. I realize this little guy is a little bit sloppy, and his color is not as bright as in nature, but when you're taking your time at home, you will be able to make him look really nice and neat, okay? So I just got some white in there. I just wanted to see, I can go around his eye, fix up his eye a little, and I'll take a little bit more black, go along his back. Now you can see that I put a little bit more paint on, how he's starting to look a little better. Now, if I happen to have 5 more minutes, I would lay more paint on and more color, and keep adding more color until this guy has a nice red and orange look to him. You can see how already, just by me adding that little bit more, he's already starting to look much better. Okay, so with all that said, trying to neaten up in the time that I had, a great little project, again from Tom Presnell in South Carolina. I hope you look him up. You can come and see me at my Facebook page at Lucy's Big Beautiful World of Painting / Wilson Bickford, New Jersey. And you can come see my website at www.lucysworldofpainting.com. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'd be happy to hear your comments and feedback, and help you any way I can. Thanks again.